Hi listeners, I hope you are with us today. This is a new episode and we're continuing from where we stopped the last time. We talked about protein and the beautiful things about protein, what it does in our body. Everybody has a need for protein. Protein is of primary importance in our daily life. And so today, what is the quantity of protein that we need? How much protein do I need? How much protein do you need? The need for protein is person dependent. Each and every one of us, there is a weight variation. For each and every one of us, there is an age variation. For each and every one of us, there are also health status variation. So all of these factors interplay to determine the quantity of protein that we need. There are physiological conditions that will require more protein. There are also diseased conditions that will also require more protein. So the protein requirement for different life stages varies. And like we said, it depends on the age, the health status, and of course the physiological state and the weight. Now let us look at protein requirement for children aged 0 to 0.6 months. What amount of protein will be adequate, will be optimal for them? So for children 0 to 6 months, in other words, in the first 6 months of birth, of life, what a child requires at birth to at maximum of 6 months is 2.25 grams per kilogram of protein per day. And as she adds more weeks, more months, up to 6 months, he or she can go up to 1.3 grams per kilogram per day. Now, when we calculate what this thing is all about, because I know for an average person, you're not going to start weighing every bit of protein to now determine your weight and determine what you take. That's a cumbersome prescription. But let me just say that for adults, of course, adults 1918, 1920 and above will require between 0.75 to 0.83 grams of protein per kilogram body weight per day. And then for elderly, you see where the trick is. For elderly, even though an elderly man looks more free and has lost some muscle tissues, the elderly, I will tell you today, will actually require more proteins than a normal adult. So the protein intake of a normal elderly person should be around at least above what the normal adult is. If a normal adult takes, like I have said, 0.75 to 0.83 grams per kilogram body weight per day, an elderly person will take as much as 1.13 grams per kilogram body weight. So it's a little bit higher. And so this is where we are coming to make us understand the reasons behind this. Now, whatever the body requires to perform all those functions we listed in our last episode, when you take it, there are what we call lifespan for each of the cells in our body. So there's a continuous breakdown of protein in tissues and cells. Now, for instance, the red blood cells is very important for us. But the red blood cells have a lifespan of about 120 years. It means that after that period, that red blood cells must be broken down. So if you don't have enough protein to replace them, then you run into problems. So when we say your hemoglobin is low, it is because the rate at which you take in protein is not enough to replace the one that has already been destroyed or that has built up this life. And so when we say nutritional anemia, for instance, we are talking about the lack of blood, or that's how we call it, or the reduced hemoglobin level that is not equal to the average number. And so for adults, that is what it is. And then for adolescents, between 13 and 18, the range is a little bit higher than what an adult requires, because they are still growing Remember we said protein is for growth, and also there are also for females, for instance, they also have the blood losses and all of that. We require more protein to replace the hemoglobin that has been destroyed through loss of blood. So this is it. Now, for women, particularly in pregnancy, do we need higher protein? At what level? Pregnancy have stages. When we are looking at stage 1, which is in the range of the first trimester of pregnancy, we also look at the second trimester and the third trimester of pregnancy. We know that the protein requirement varies. Now, additionally, for a singleton pregnancy, that is a pregnancy that is 1 week, will require as much as 2.1 grams per day additional protein than a normal adult. Now, if it is in the second trimester, we will require up to 6.2 grams per day for women second trimester. And when it is the third trimester, we will require as much as 10 grams per day additional. And so these are the variations. There are also variations as per the number of pregnancies. For each additional baby, people have twins or triplets or whatever, because the baby is also growing, you will require an additional 50 grams than what the singleton mothers require. So you get me right. So when we look at a pregnant woman, there are physiological states. Pregnancy is a normal God-sent blessing. So, but the woman that is pregnant needs to know the right quantity of protein to take. The husband of the woman needs to be part of this, because male involvement in reproductive health is very key. Now, pregnancy can be single baby in the womb, that is singlet. It can also be multiple babies in the womb, from twins, triplets, etc. Now, for a normal pregnancy, that is a normal pregnancy, is a singlet, 1 baby in the womb. What the woman requires depends on the stage of the pregnancy. If it is in the first stage, which is first trimester, the woman will require 1.2 grams additional proteins per day. 1.2 in addition to what a normal adult. I have said that a normal adult takes 0.75 kilograms per day. Apart from this first trimester, in the second trimester, the woman requires as much as 6.1 grams of protein a day. So it's an additional thing to the normal 0.75 grams per kilogram body weight per day. And then if it's at the third trimester, the woman requires as much as 10.2 to 10.7 grams of protein per day. So you see, the requirements for a pregnant woman is dependent on the stage of the pregnancy. Now, if, for instance, it's a multiple pregnancy, so twins, triplets, for every additional baby in that, you must have to give the woman an additional 50 grams. So if it is a first trimester multiple pregnancy, the woman will require 1.2 additional grams for adult plus an additional 50 grams. So if the baby is triplets, of course, 50 grams per baby. So instead of the normal additional range which we have said, what the adolescent pregnant woman requires at least 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram body weight of the baby per day. So that is what she will require to balance for the growth of the mother and to balance for the growth of the baby. For adults who are above 20 or thereabouts, they have already grown and they may not require additional protein for their own personal use, but for maintenance. So, as you can see from our proceedings, we have been able to tell you about the protein requirement at different ages of life. And it is important for us to know that even in such physiological states such as in pregnancy, the protein requirement varies depending on the trimester, depending on the multiplicity of the pregnancy, and depending on the age at which the mother conceived. And so, having said this much, let us take a pause and come back next week to talk about other physiological or pathological conditions where protein requirements may need to be increased beyond the normal that for the normal adults. So until then, this is Nutri-Med's online clinic, and like you said, your health is our primary importance, and we want you and your family to be healthy. Thank you, and follow us on our social media handles. Till then, it's bye. Thank you.